Okay. So, division of exponents is whenever you subtract exponents. Division property of exponents is when we subtract them.
Wait, was it crap the same?
What crap was that? So, here, I'm actually going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to, instead of me coming up with them, maybe a little bit quicker if I can do this, so we can get through the assignment a little bit quicker. Look at this problem right there. This one at the very top, it's actually going to walk you through it, and I'm going to walk up here so you guys can kind of see it. This is an example of a problem, g cubed h fifth over gh squared. If we had to solve this, notice we are going to subtract them, but they have to have the exact same base in order to subtract them. What exponent's right here above this g? 1, right? Don't forget that. Don't start forgetting that. That happens for some reason. We get farther and farther along and people start thinking it's a 0. No, anything raised to the 0 is what? 1. This is 3 minus 1, which is right here. So we know it's going to be g squared h to the 5th. Now this is very important to write down inside your journal. I'm going to have you write it down. I'm going to write it right here. This is a big thing inside your journal. Subtraction happens in the numerator. Which is where? What's the numerator?
The top one.
The top of the fraction. So when we do these subtractions like they did right here in step 3, g to the 3rd minus 1, h to the 5th minus 2, that is happening in the top of the fraction of the numerator. So this step right here, when you subtract them, it's happening in the numerator, and that's going to be very beneficial when we start playing in the world of negative exponents. This right here happens in the numerator. Okay, let's do one of these, and then we will... I'll get to... Stop it! Stop it! Stop being a jerk to me, computer. Alright, let's do one of these. Where's my pen? What'd you do with it?
Sorry.
There it is. Okay. Where did we end yesterday? We'll start in the back. Veronica, give me a number. Okay, so x to the 7th. Give me a number. Jaden? 8. And then I'll just write x squared y to the 4th. So if I have that, the way we do this is we subtract the exponents with the same base. Why is that like that? We subtract the exponents with the same base, and we put them together like this. Does everyone see that? Now subtraction happens in the numerator, right? So that's very important you understand that. So we get x to the 5th, y to the 4th is our solution. Okay? Yeah, it's over 1, but we don't write that. Okay, questions so far? That's easy, right? I'm not going to spend very much more time on that easy. All right. Yeah, I'm not going to have them. There's another box, but I'm going to make up my own words. Everyone good at that? Okay, the next thing is called the power of a quotient. And I'm actually going to teach it by doing a problem. So let's say we had 3p cubed over 4. And let's say this entire thing's squared. So this is like a power of a power, what we did yesterday, but this is called power of a quotient. The reason why it's called quotient is because we're dividing. But the most important thing is you have to identify what is this whole thing raised to. It's raised to a 2, right? Just like yesterday with the power of a power, we had to distribute and multiply everything that has an exponent. We do the same thing today, except for this is where a lot of people get hung up. They distribute it to the top, but it also goes to the bottom. Everything inside of the parentheses that has an exponent, that 2 gets distributed to. Okay, this exponent goes to everything inside of here that has an exponent. So this is going to turn into 3 squared times p to the 6th over 4 squared or 9 p to the 6th over 16.
That's the answer.
That's the answer. Now,
Where did you get the 9 from?
3 squared.
Oh.
Because the 2 goes to the 3, right? Everything in here that has an exponent, and yes, integers have exponents. Now the part that I thought this had it, but don't trust the book, Cade. Never trust the book. All right? Idiot. Okay. It's such a piece of junk. It's been around for many moons. All right, here we go. So, okay, so any questions on that? So if there's something that's raised to it, that exponent gets distributed to everything inside of the parentheses that has an exponent. And when you bring it in, it's a power raised to a power. So, of course, you're going to multiply it. So let's do another one. Let's say we had, here, we'll start over there. Dom, give me a number.
5.
Jackson?
400.
Carlisle?
7.
Ashlyn? Okay. Appley, give me a number. 2. Maddox, give me a number. Okay. All cubed. All right. So if we're going to go through this and we're going to do it, that 3 is going to be distributed to everything inside of this thing that has an exponent. And yes, like I said before, integers have exponents. So this is going to turn into 5 cubed, x to the 12th, y to the 21 over 4 cubed, x to the 6th, y to the 6th. I'm writing so big. I need to stop. It's taking up a whole paper. So I'm going to reduce this just a little bit. I'm going to make the whole numbers so they're whole instead of exponents. Okay, so now we're to there. And I wish like heck I'd have got them, but I'll do one next like the one I want to do. But this can be simplified farther. Right? How, Lydia? Yeah, because there's x's on the top and x's on the bottom, we can subtract those exponents. So we can subtract these exponents by going, first off, we keep the 125 on the top, and all the subtraction happens on the top. So what's left over down here? Yes, you can. A 64, right? So the subtraction happens on the top, but because there's already a fraction here with integers, the fraction stays the same. We don't change that unless we can reduce it. If you can reduce the fraction, you have to reduce it, which we're going to do one of those next. I'm going to find one and do it. But this thing won't reduce. Okay? But this problem is going to turn into 125 x to the 6th, y to the 15th over 64 would be your solution there. Okay, I'm going to find one. Just give me a second here. I'm going to find one directly off your homework. Okay, good. All right, this one will work. Questions so far? The biggest thing is you need to understand so far is if there's an exponent outside of the parentheses, it gets multiplied to every exponent inside, and then you subtract things with the same basis. This is coming directly off your homework, so put this one inside your journal. Make sure. 42 u cubed v squared. This can't be on your homework. This is impossible. Over 6 u squared v. I'm going to have to delete those. Well, no, that's not the real problem. I'll show you later. Okay. because it's not on this lesson. That's coming up. That was weird they threw that in there. So here we have a problem. Now look, this isn't raised to anything, so all we're going to do is some basic subtraction and division. The first thing, just like yesterday, if there was integers in front, you had to multiply them, right? If there's integers in front, you have to divide them or simplify them. So this case right here, we have to divide these to get 7, and then we could subtract them. So 42 divided by 6 is 7, and when you divide them, of course it comes up to the numerator, and we're just left with that as our answer. That is really frustrating why that's in there. And it did it again. Oh my goodness, this is terrible. I'll do one later. It'll be tomorrow probably. Okay, so let's do another. Actually, I want you guys to try one of these on your own. And this one's going to look a little bit different, but it's all right. I just want to see what you guys get to on this one.
Wait, can you go open that? So, okay.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Wait, so do you divide the two numbers?
Oh.
Yep, divide them. Or just simplify them. Now look, 25 and 10 can be simplified, right?
Yeah.
So just simplify them. You don't need to divide them because it's going to give you 1.5, 2.5, 2.5. Don't do that. Decimals don't work. Keep it, just reduce the fraction. Well, we're going to talk about it. This is why I did this one. Okay, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to start doing this. First thing is look at the integers. The integers are right here. We have to then divide the integers, but in this case right here, they're not going to come out whole, right? So just reduce the fraction to make 5 over 2. Subtraction happens on the top, so we're going to have w to the 3 minus 1 and x to the cube minus 3, or x to the 3 minus 3. Okay? So this is going to reduce down to 5w squared x to the 0 over 2. Now I talked to you. What is anything raised to the 0? 1. So what happens to our x? It's just gone. Immediately when something's raised to 0, it just goes away. It just becomes 1, right? And if 1 is here, anything times by 1 is just it. So 1, you don't write it. Don't write that. Today during my first hour, I had a student that wrote this, and Alex kept marking him wrong. Don't write that. 1 is not there. You don't need to write it. It's irrelevant. Anything times by 1 is just the same thing, so don't write it. Okay. One more, and I'm going to let you guys try this one on your own just to see. Son of a gun.
Another one.
We're going to make up our own. Again, here we go. 2x to the 4th y squared over 8x squared y, and we're going to square this entire thing. I want you guys to try that one on your own.
Can I simplify before I bring out distribute?
No, you can't simplify this because you got to distribute that thing first.
Okay.
See that? Because this is going to reduce to 1/4, but after you distribute that, it's not 1/4 anymore. You need to distribute first. This is so stupid. they put our next lesson. Like half the problems have
The next lesson.
the next lesson mixed into it. Now it's still like division stuff, but it's starting to apply other things that there's no way in the world I'd have time to teach. So now I got to go through every single one of the problems they're giving you on homework and see if it has.
64.
What a stupid thing. Alright, hopefully everyone here is already done. It shouldn't take you too long. When we distribute this 2 to everything, and you should have done that first before you reduce the integers, you need to distribute that thing through to get 4 x to the 8th y to the 4th over 64 x to the 4th y squared. Now, when you're looking at this problem, the reason why I told Ryan this is you don't want to reduce this here. Right? Even though I think it would actually end up and then you do it. But I like to distribute and then reduce it. Because reducing it here gives you 1 over what? 1 over 16. And then we have x to the 8th minus 4, y to the 4th minus 2. Or, and this is, I'm just curious who wrote it like this, because the 1 here actually is okay. But I would never write it like that. What would be the more correct way to write it? Bo? Over. That would be the more correct way to write it right there. Because 1 next to it does nothing, right? Even though it's 1/16 and we reduced it, that 1 on top is irrelevant. Okay, last thing we need to talk about is this. And I'm only going to do one problem like this, then I'm sending you off on your homework. We've talked about anything raised to 0 is what? 1. What about if I had this, though? What about if I had 2 3/5 raised to the 0? It'd be 2. Why, Lydia?
Because you do exponents first, so you just kind of get rid of that first.
Yeah, so this is 3/5, which that 0 goes to the top and to the bottom. So it becomes, this all right here becomes 1, and then it's 1 times 2, which is 2. What about if I had this? Yeah, that would be -1, because this becomes 1 times a negative, which is -1. Okay, did someone already start the homework? I hope not. Because I did open it, and then I closed it, and then I opened it again. Oh, it doesn't open up yet. All right, good. All right, here we go. I'm going to give you your homework. The original homework was 24 questions, and now it's 14. That would have been real bad. I'm glad I caught that. I'm glad I often opened up Alex and looked at it beforehand, because I would have had questions happening galore, and then it would have been a disaster. I'm hoping I caught them all. Or we're going to have to wait on it. I didn't catch them all.
When you read it, you get your reading.
Hey, listen. Problems 9, 10, and 11.
Are they even done?
No, listen. So I just opened one of them up and clicked to another problem, clicked to another, and I saw it has the same issue. But listen, problems 9, 10, and 11. If you don't know how to do them, save them till tomorrow when I teach it, or try to figure them out. Okay? So if you can't figure it, Yeah, you won't need to submit till tomorrow, or just try to figure them out. You can still submit it and then just open it back up and go back into it if you want. But you might be able to figure it out. But I don't want to take the time to teach each individual person that, so if you have a weird one.
Did you grab the mouse and go, hold on and
Hey, just so you guys can see one of these, Haley just barely got to one that was a little bit weird looking, but it's not bad.